Welcome back to OFFBounds. This is your favorite retail podcast that brings insights from all over the world. And today I'm taking you to APAC, a region that we absolutely love covering. We had a fantastic time in Singapore for NRF APAC, and I'm happy to share the region's stories with you. We have 4 episodes for that. Convenience used to mean quick and forgettable. Anushree Khosla is changing that. As managing director of 7-Eleven in Singapore, she's on a mission to turn the humble convenience store into a destination, one viral product at a time. With a background in loyalty programs and financial services, she brings a deeply consumer-first lens to one of the world's most recognizable retail formats. Today, we are talking about what discovery-based retail looks like at the scale of 7-Eleven. Here is Paula Macaggi, and this is episode 124 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. Anushree, welcome to OFFBounds. So happy to be in Singapore with you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, well, me too. So I've been here many times, and yesterday I interviewed, I think it was our first Singaporean. So it's crazy how so many nationalities have been to the show in Singapore, to OFFBounds, but never someone from Singapore. And now you are the managing director of 7-Eleven in Singapore. So now we can actually get a grasp about the market.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So 7-Eleven, of course, is a very well-known brand for my audience. I think everybody has been to one. But it feels different depending on the country.
Yeah.
And I think for us, at least in New York where I live, it's just not as fun as it is in Asia. How would you describe 7-Eleven in Singapore?
7-Eleven has been in Singapore now for 43 years, and
it's not something new, yeah.
Not something new, and we have over 450 stores, which is, I know it sounds a little small, but from a Singapore perspective, that's pretty huge. So we're pretty much everywhere in Singapore. And I think compared with particularly the US, where convenience stores are very much around, commute and large spaces on the freeways, etc. In Singapore, 7-Eleven is a very in-city, embedded in the community kind of store. And like I mentioned, we've been here for really long, but we do see a variety of customers and missions. I think our number one consumer base is students. So it's very common if you study in Singapore and you're even 6 or 7 years old, children commute by themselves because it's so safe. They come into our stores after school to grab a snack, all the way up to, college kids studying late at night, 2 a.m., need something to eat and drop into a 7-Eleven.
So students of all ages?
All ages, from 7 to, 17 and beyond. And obviously, because we're in CBD, we're in the sort of hotspots and the big shopping areas, a lot of people come in on their way to work, come in for a quick lunch, after work, all the way to, being really in the heartland, in the communities in Singapore. So late at night or early in the morning, if you want to grab eggs or milk, where do you go? And it's always to a 7-Eleven. So I think we play a variety of different roles in the community. And over the last couple of years, we really want to take this sort of being embedded in the community, but make it a lot more fun and exciting, like convenience stores in Japan or Korea or elsewhere.
So what does it mean? I think this is the most fascinating part, because APAC is so diverse, right? We learn at the event that everybody has a different view about different markets. It's so interesting. What it means for 7-Eleven to be more Asian.
Okay, so I'm going to start with, giving a little bit of context on 7-Eleven Japan. And I'm sure, a lot of your audience has been to Japan and been to a 7-Eleven. But a convenience store in Japan is a destination in itself. So even when we travel on holiday to Japan, the first thing you want to do is go into a 7-Eleven or a Family Mart or a Lawson and see the new food they have and the new and interesting products. So even when people travel to a 7-Eleven Thailand, it's very interesting because people talk about the toasties there, right? And convenience in Asia is, I want to say, pretty exciting and almost sexy in that sense. And in Singapore, that's really been our aspiration. So we want to make the convenience store that has traditionally been a last mile pit stop from a last mile pit stop to really a place of discovery, a place where there's great food, there's exciting products, there's, you talked earlier to me about going to Don Don Donkey, and, it's really exciting products. But how can we bring such products to 450 stores in Singapore? And that's really our ambition, to be known for, number one, great food, which is a new mission for convenience in Singapore, and number two, exciting snacks, drinks, chocolates. And recently we've also gone very strategically into the toys and collectibles business, with this whole trend of kidulting getting popular. So it's all in all, it really transforms from a very functional, okay, I have a headache, I need to get a Panadol, or I'm thirsty, I need to get a bottle of water, or I need to go in to buy cigarettes, to really a place where I go in to look for my lunch, for example, or see what new, ice cream we have from China or Japan or Korea or wherever
like
in the
you're
world.
with your friends, like, let's see what they have.
Yes. So it's really, are we there yet? No. Have we gotten much better at it? I think definitely. So it's an ongoing journey for us, but I think, yes, we're well on our way. So it is a fun, exciting destination is really what we're going for.
Yeah, and that sounds very exciting and definitely challenging, right? Like, because it's a journey. So it's a journey for you to discover the merchandise that will attract all these consumers that are going to be curious.
Absolutely.
How to market that to them, and then to actually educate them that 7-Eleven is now this new destination. I think Singapore is such a cosmopolitan place. People from all over the world, as I said, just now that I'm having finally Singaporeans on the show. How does that translate? Because then you're having a population that is very... It comes from different backgrounds.
Yeah. So Singapore is a very diverse country, right? It's very multicultural. There's obviously the local Singaporeans. There's people like myself who are kind of expats here. But in general, very widely traveled as well, right? So people in Singapore are well versed with trends that are happening all over the world because of travel, and of course now because of social media. The taste preferences are quite diverse as well compared to some of the other Asian markets. And I think that poses challenges, of course, but also great opportunities, because we're able to then really experiment a lot, because you're not really bound by a specific ethnicity or a cultural relevance or a way of shopping. It's very international, and I think that gives us a really wide canvas. And you mentioned the range, you mentioned marketing, but I think the most important part for us in retail really is the stores. And so if we want to transform from last mile functional to exciting to fun, then we really need to upgrade our stores as well. And our stores need to speak that language and really demonstrate that positioning. And that's why over the last couple of years, we've been on a very rapid refit of our stores, a new store design, all in line with this new mission.
Yeah, and how do you select where do you begin? Because it's 450 stores. It's not something you can do overnight. What are the biggest changes for the store design? And how do you prioritize where you start?
Where we start, yeah. So I think one of the biggest changes on store design is really around initially I talked about that focus on ready-to-eat food, right? And historically, if you looked at our stores, it was very much like a mini mart. You have chips and snacks and drinks and chocolates and, small little stores, sometimes quite cramped and crowded. And so where do we start? We start with the bigger stores, of course, because that gives us a larger canvas. And when I say bigger, it's not really bigger. It's like 600 square feet. And so
just
we
bigger
start
than smaller
bigger
ones.
bigger than many of our stores. And I think the number one objective on the new store design is to build in and bring about that food focus. So we do spend a lot of our real estate and dedicate a lot of our real estate to the food and making sure that the food looks great, is displayed well, is available in a very seamless way for somebody to go and, grab a meal, and then right next to your meal is a microwave, or you want to grab some noodles and there's the hot water right there. We've added, even in some of our smaller stores, little standing tables. So if you want to just quickly, stop by and grab a bite. So that's one big part of the transformation. The other part is really to kind of upgrade the design, make it more modern, make it more conducive to this browsing, as opposed to, just very functional placement of product. And I'd say the third thing is really to showcase our new products. So in every shelf today, on every bay, there are dedicated spaces for new products and for viral products, and that then leads to a lot of the out of store marketing and social media and reels. So we really, even in our marketing, we really focus on showing the store, because that really is the moment of truth. So when people see that the 7-Eleven store looks different, then it becomes much more credible when we speak about our journey.
It spikes a little bit of a curiosity too, like, oh my God, look at them. Let me see like what they're doing, right?
Yeah, so we've brought in a lot of, we talked about the whole Asia international convenience influence. So in 7-Eleven Thailand, the toasties are viral. And it's basically like in the chiller, there are toasties in different flavors, and it's literally like a home toastie that they use to press. And so we launched those in Singapore 3 months ago, and it's been a huge success because you can actually come into our stores and now smell a ham and cheese toastie and, the smell of cheese baking, for example. And then 7-Eleven Japan has smoothies, and these are actually fresh fruit smoothies, which you pull out a cup with frozen fruit and yogurt, and then you go into this machine, you scan a code, and you pop in your smoothie, and it just blends by itself. So all of this is obviously exciting. It gives us a whole new range in food, and of course these are all very Instagrammable kind of products and experiences. So
that's why they became viral in the first place.
Yeah, and so you compare that to a previous experience where you just go in to get a bottle of water or a drink, and now you can go in, you can get a toastie, you can get a smoothie, you can get pizza baked fresh in under 5 minutes. It is quite exciting.
Yeah. And how do you track these trends? Because that's another challenge too, right? Like you have to be ahead of, like you have to be aware of everything that is happening around the region.
We have a really strong sourcing team, as well as obviously marketing, and we do spend a fair bit of time tracking trends. And these days with social media, it's pretty easy to understand what's going viral in markets. But then we also visit a lot of different markets and trade shows, and our objective really is, if there's anything new in the world and it comes to Singapore, it needs to be in the 7-Eleven first. So last year we were actually the first to bring in one of the Dubai chocolates into Singapore.
Yeah,
and
let's talk about these trends.
Everybody was talking about Fix, and of course this was not the $50 chocolate, but then suddenly you could get Dubai chocolates at almost 500 stores in Singapore, and I think that's huge, right? So we're able to bring in a product and then make it so accessible to people, because we're literally everywhere.
Yeah, you are like 50 meters from everyone. Yeah, that's super interesting. And you mentioned toys.
Yeah.
That goes a little bit different than the traditional food and beverage that 7-Eleven is known for. How is that going? How does that work in the assortment?
I think it's a very strategic addition to our assortment. And I don't need to tell you that it's not children who are buying these products. It's obviously grown-up people. I think the mission actually, it is quite aligned, because again, it brings products that are traditionally available only in specialty stores. And of course, the range is not as large as it would be in a Pop Mart or something, but we make it very accessible. So imagine I love collecting blind boxes, and I work on Robinson Road, and there's a 7-Eleven downstairs, and literally every week then I can go in and see what's new and pick up what I want. And that easy access to these products, and I think it's very aligned to our target segment, to our food focus as well, because we want people to come in for like a quick meal, grab something, see what's new. Newness is very inherent to our strategy as a whole, and I think this
because if you're going to the discovery part, you need what is new.
You need constant newness, and I think that lends itself. This particular category lends itself very well to newness. And I think that's why it's been a logical extension. It's not easy, because, you have to really figure out the right products and the trends and what will appeal to customers. We do make mistakes as well, because sometimes we think something's going to be really, really amazing and it isn't. And I think that goes back to that point around always working hard to make sure the products are right, and making sure, along with the right products, that they come in time, because it's also a race in terms of how quickly you can bring something in before everybody else.
I think like it's very intuitive to think like, of course, it makes so much sense, just bring trendy products. But I feel our society now is so, it works in 3 days. I think like something goes viral and 3 days later everybody forgot and went to the next one. So you have a very short window to actually bring something that is relevant, that is going to stay relevant for that week, I guess.
That's true. And so one, it's a short window. Two, we also don't have that much space, right? So we've got to be super intentional in terms of what we want to bring in, along with the fact that trends more and more now don't last very long. So it's really being able to very tactically seize the opportunity, bring something in, and make sure you don't bring too much because you don't know how long it's going to last. And that is a sort of new skill that we've been building over the last couple of years, and that overlays quite nicely onto the core proposition. I think convenience, I mean, we've talked a lot about discovery and excitement, but I think I also want to say that the core mission of convenience is always also convenience, right? So all of this really is an overlay on top of your everyday essentials and necessities that you need to buy.
Yeah, but it's also the surprise and delight while you're doing the mission of just buying something that you need really quick.
And I think, again, it's all connected because you may come in for a very functional mission. You came in because you're walking outside. It's always hot in Singapore. You want a drink, which I'm sure you're experiencing firsthand now. You come in to get a drink and then suddenly there's this aha, oh, I didn't realize there's like a smoothie and there's this and that and there's all of these interesting toys. So there is the core convenience mission, and then we want to take that a few steps further, I think, in terms of the rest of the things that we've talked about.
And you said that you are starting to build that, and it's a journey, right? Like until you renew all the stores and get everybody to understand the brand. Like, what have you learned already that you didn't know before since you started this journey?
I think the key, and it's true of any transformation, right? I think number one, you have to have a very clear view of where you want to get to and what does good look like and what is your end state. So I think that's the first thing, that we've been very clear about what we want and where we want to be. The second thing is really around change management, right? You've got to carry the whole organization, because this is not just about getting products in. It's not just about introducing food, but also your store teams are not used to handling food, and you're almost, in a sense, becoming an F&B player, right? So there's a lot of different elements in this transformation, and I think the key thing is to be able to get the buy-in across the board and for people to understand why we're doing this. And I think for us, it's really, we don't just want to be a core essentials retailer, right? That's really not where our future lies. And then being able to paint the art of the possible for everybody. And then, of course, there's no shortcut to getting there, right? It's a lot of stores, it's the range, it's, training the teams again, it's the mindset of various people. But I would go back to the one key bit is the complete 100% clarity on what good looks like. And then I think it's a very systematic approach towards getting there.
To like how getting there.
Yeah, and then also I would say fail fast, because we've tried to do a few things that haven't worked. And I think the key is to learn from those failures, but also be able to exit fast and cut our losses and move on to something else. So I think that's really how we've been trying to work in the recent years.
And I think like trying to be too perfect is going to slow you down. And now that's exactly what you need. You need to be agile and learn and go and move on and keep
Absolutely.
going.
Yeah.
And I remember when we talked, you described your career journey. That is very unique. And I think you are in a key position today because you have this secret sauce. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your career?
I'm definitely not a born-in type of retailer. And my career actually started in India in financial services, in credit cards. And right from the time I was studying, I was very consumer focused, and I really wanted to be in customer facing businesses. So even in a bank, I ended up, picking credit cards because that was sort of the most consumer facing business that could be. And within a couple of years, I had moved into loyalty. And then when I came to Hong Kong, over the years, I worked in different areas of consumer loyalty, consulting, also did a bit of time in general management in India at an EV startup. And then finally, 7 years ago, came to DFI to build and launch the loyalty program, which is now I think the biggest program in Hong Kong with almost 6 million members. So that really was how I started in loyalty, and then over the years kind of made my way into retail. And I always say that I hadn't worked in retail, but I always worked alongside retail. And I would say with the 7-Eleven role, it's really my full-fledged entry into retail, which is where I feel like, I'm home now.
Yeah, and I think like you have a very good analytical understanding of consumer data and consumer behavior, right? Because if you're in loyalty, that's what you have to know. Yeah. So I think like for this transformation is perfect because you can actually see live. Did you see like a big change on the perspective from where you were to actually being the operator?
It is different. It's very easy to sit on the other side and tell the retailers what to do. And then when you're in there yourself, I think you build almost a holistic appreciation of the challenges. But I think the excitement for me really is in the dynamism and speed of retail, because you do something today and in 3 days you start to see a difference, whether good or bad. And I think it's probably the only industry where you can get sort of this kick of, I do something and very quickly I know that it's working or not working. And I think that's really what keeps people in retail, is you've got to be sort of addicted to that action and the passion. And I think just being able to look at how consumers operate in different markets and in different industries makes you realize that industries can be different, but fundamentally, I always say this, that consumers are consumers everywhere, right? And behavior is inherently the same. And so if we're able to tap into that, I think everything becomes much easier.
I would love more insights into that, because you started in India, and then you went to Hong Kong, and now in Singapore. Have I missed any other country that you lived?
So India, Hong Kong, Singapore. Okay. Back and forth a few times.
What are some of the key insights that are different, and what is systematically the same for all these consumers?
I think different in many ways as well. India, of course, it's large, very fragmented, whereas if you look at Hong Kong and Singapore, they're very compact. And I think size and scale brings its own opportunities and challenges. So that's one big difference. Between Hong Kong and Singapore, I'd say they're both, very compact, very efficient, super developed city-states in a sense. But consumer behavior is quite different. The way people live is quite different. If you think of Hong Kong, from a convenience store perspective, we have over 1,100 stores. And Hong Kong is a very walking city, right? It's super dense and everybody's walking everywhere. I think Hong Kongers take the highest steps in the world, by the way, over 10,000 steps a day. And so the walkability lends itself very well to convenience, because, you're just popping in and out several times a day. Singapore, although is compact as well, but it's not fundamentally dense in the same way as Hong Kong. And therefore, your stores are a bit further apart. The weather is different. More people drive in Singapore compared to Hong Kong. So all of these small differences actually lead to big differences in consumer behavior. Hong Kong homes are much smaller. So from a supermarket perspective, there isn't that much, pantry loading and stocking up, whereas in Singapore, homes are slightly larger. So I think it's quite interesting how, whereas on the outset, two markets may seem quite similar, but in reality, the consumer behavior can be quite different.
We had one guest this week that said exactly that. She started a business in Hong Kong, and her natural instinct was to expand it to Singapore, and she was using the same playbook. And she was like, no, it's so different.
Yeah, and more so for us now with this whole focus on food, right? The palates are different. The local tastes are quite different between the markets. So you really have to cater to the local market wherever you may be.
And what is the similarity between all consumers that never change?
Yeah, I think the similarity is really around human behavior, right? I think everywhere consumers want to be treated well, no matter which market it is. They want good shopping experiences. And I think really increasingly now, no matter where in the world you look, we're sitting in the market which probably has the highest per capita income in the world, but consumers still want value in Singapore as well. And so I think those are really the similarities. People generally want the same things, but they consume in different ways. They shop in different ways, but ultimately everybody's looking for a good store, a good experience, good service, and definitely value. And then excitement and fun and all of that, comes on top of that core.
Yeah, and I come here every year, once a year.
Right.
So it's always the week that I book this studio.
Yeah.
When we catch up, maybe next year or the following, how success look like for you?
How does success look like? So I think if we are able to become absolutely credible about this place of discovery, I think that's really going to be successful, because we do, in a way, have this legacy of being very functional and very last mile. And now we already start to see consumers noticing, because a lot of our stores are now looking different. Our people are starting to realize that, hey, you know what? Okay, this food is not like 7-Eleven Japan, but it's not bad. It's getting there. And I think just cementing that proposition from a credibility perspective, because right now you hear me saying all of this, right? We want to be this, we want to be that, we want to be a place of discovery. But the day our customers start to say, wow, 7-Eleven Singapore is where I go, I think that's really the true sort of point of arrival. And we're obviously not there yet, but we are working really hard to get there.
Yeah. And I love how grounded you are in your perspective and your leadership. It's very inspiring to see you talking about the plan. Who inspired you in your career? What made you accept such a big challenge? You have to have certain, you have to have a courage to be there.
So I think over a 20 plus year career, there's obviously many people that have shaped me. And before I talk about the good, I think equally it's good and tough experiences as well that shape you. So I always say to my team that I've learned as much from challenging colleagues and challenging leaders as I have from the great ones. But I think it's sort of a life stage thing. And I think because I've moved around so much, relocated, sometimes not out of choice, sometimes out of choice, I think number one, it sort of builds this adaptability and strategic agility or learning agility, because as you move, you kind of have to adjust. But I think equally, I've been quite blessed with different managers. And I think the common thing that I feel about all of those people is that they've really taken a leap of faith on me. And whether it's been, moving from loyalty to running retail in 7-Eleven, or having zero manufacturing experience to really heading customer experience for an electric vehicle company, I think it's really been people who have had that faith or belief that I am able to do more, that has really given me the courage to sort of continue to take that leap of faith. And equally, I think as a manager, it's also taught me to be the same, right? And now, particularly, with a large team, I always try to have that perspective that it doesn't have to be the typical person to do a specific job, right? And what you're really looking for is adaptable skill sets and potential, which can make people succeed. Not necessarily that if I'm doing X job, then I should have been doing this type of job for the last 10 years. So I think my own experience, the managers who have and leaders who have supported me have also shaped me as a leader then, and really trying to honestly pay it forward to everybody else who is willing to and adaptable enough to kind of try different things. So I think it just hopefully this continues over the next years.
And retail teaches us every day that how much we need to adapt, right? And
Absolutely.
Be flexible. It's a muscle.
Yeah, no 2 days are ever the same.
Absolutely. And transformation is a big topic here, right? Every couple of years we need to transform our businesses. What would be your advice to other leaders going through their transformation?
I wouldn't even call it transformation anymore, right? I would just call it
running the business,
just running the business, right? Because things are always changing so fast, and I think the pace of change is only going to increase. So transformation almost sounds like something really big that you have to do, but I think it's really the day-to-day agility and really keeping, I always like to say, right, you keep your feet on the ground but your eyes on the sky, and you kind of have to constantly adapt. So I think it's really my advice, if you ask me, would be that we've got to, as retail leaders, operate at many different levels. You have to really be operating very close to the ground, understanding what's going on in the stores, understanding what's going on with consumers, and equally try and take like a 50,000 foot view on a strategy. And I think that's the key to be able to navigate that. Like, sometimes you have to really be very micro, and other times you have to really think about the bigger picture, and constantly balancing that and juggling with that, I think, is the real key to successful transformation, if that's what we want to call it.
If that's even a word anymore. Yeah. Especially now with AI, I know, it's transforming by the day. So
absolutely,
you never know.
Yeah.
Well, it's about lunchtime and I want to eat a toasty.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. I'll go to a 7-Eleven to get is that Thai toasty or is just
no,
a toasty?
it's just a toasty.
Okay.
It's like your typical ham. And now actually we have this Korean a brand called Buldak. I don't know if you know about. It's a hugely viral Korean brand of instant noodles. So we have a co-branded toasty with them. So yeah.
So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go discover in a 7-Eleven what my lunch is gonna be and what nationality is coming from.
Wonderful. That's music to my ears, Paula. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights. It's been great to have your perspective here, and I can't wait to watch us succeed.
Fantastic, and see you in Singapore soon. Thank you.